Welcome back. I'm Jason, and this is my garage, and this is likely the worst paint correction video on YouTube. This has taken me the better part of a week to record, just because life is stupid, crazy, getting in my way. Let's see, I think this is my fourth take trying to record this introduction on a video I've already done, so bear with me. So this video is really just me catching up on some chores. That's about it. I have needed to do some spring detailing and paint correction on my Kia Stinger, and it has taken me months to get to the point where I could do it. Finally got it done. So in this video, I'm going to walk through the process I use for this kind of work. Show you the products I use, how I do it. I'm going to show you some of the things I was seeing in the paint, and the after results hopefully show up well enough on the camera that you can see the difference. At least it's good enough for me, because I can see a big difference after I've done it. I don't know if the camera picks it up very well. I'm going to jump into it, and we'll go from there. So what I've got laid out here is everything I used on this little chore of mine. And again, it's nothing fancy. I like and use a mix of different products. I like Mcguire's sealants and detailers. I've been really happy with Chemical Guy's cutting compounds and polish, and their iron removal stuff. And every once in a while I'll need some bug and tar remover, so I just picked up whatever Walmart had at the time. Nothing fancy, and it works, and you're gonna end up cleaning the paint anyway and removing all wax, so I wasn't real worried about it. This hybrid ceramic wax, that's a new product for me. I've only been using it, well, it's been about almost a year now. Well, yeah, a little over a year now for me. And so far, I really like it, and I'm going to continue using it. But I have learned a few things after a year, and it's going to change how I approach it over the next year. So we'll get into that. As far as my DA, I'm just using a cheap, I think this is the 7-inch dual action Chicago Electric one you get from Harbor Freight. I think I picked it up for $40 or $50 a couple of years ago, and it has served me well. I know some guys don't like Harbor Freight stuff. For what I do, you know, the DIY guy or the hobbyist, I think it's fine. If I was doing this for a living or much more frequently, then yeah, I might step up to a more expensive DA. But this one works very well for what I do, and I'll show you using it. I think the pads are actually a lot more critical, and that's where for this I found these Hex Logics. I don't remember where I got these. I know I ordered it off of Amazon, but I don't remember if it came from Chemical Guys or what. But for finishing, these foam hexagon pattern foam pads seem to work really well for me. Polishing, again, I'm using Hex Logic, the hex pattern polishing pads, and for cutting, I really like these are Mcguire's microfiber cutting pads. They're a little bit big for my DA, so you can cut them down, but a lot of times I'll just use it as is, and it has worked very well for me, especially when you combine it with some V36. So Chemical Guy's V36 cutting compound worked really well. The Kia, when I got it, came with a lot of dealer installed scratches and swirls, and it took me a full week with some V36 and V38 to get it to where it is now, where I'm happy with it. That said, there are still some deeper, they're very small, but some deeper scratches that aren't coming out, and I'm not going to go after them that aggressively. I don't want to cut the paint that much chasing after those last few imperfections. You know, you've got to be really up on it within a foot and looking at it with a very bright light to even see them. You know, if you're standing even just a couple of feet away, you can't find them, and that's more than enough for me. And that's really what needs done on the Kia today, or in this video, is it's got, you know, a full winter of road grime on it, and I want to get those contaminants off, and which is going to mean stripping the layer of wax that's on it, get that gone and remove the contaminants in the paint. And I ended up using, all I needed was the V36 final polish and my finishing pad, and a light pass with that was enough to remove any little swirls that were there, which leads me to believe that the hybrid ceramic wax is doing its job at keeping the bulk of the contaminants off the paint. I think what I ran into over the winter is I didn't top it off halfway through the winter, and it got a little weak in the second half of the winter and let some of these contaminants bond, and then during washing that's causing some, you know, some minor swirls or whatever in the paint because there just wasn't much protection left. So I think what I learned, and I'll touch on this later on, is I just need to be applying it more frequently. You know, it's stated to last up to a year, and I think at least in Ohio, and especially during Ohio winters, that's just not realistic. Now I've recently, like within the last few weeks, started using the hybrid ceramic detailer. So far I really like it. My hope is that it's going to help the ceramic sealant last a little longer, you know, because you're continually applying some SiO2 to that sealant and helping replace anything that's lost as you're doing your regular maintenance washes or whatever. I'm going to jump into the car. I'll show you what I'm seeing in the paint, and we'll get into it and go from there. So as you can see, I've got a number of really pretty minor imperfections in the hood here of my Kia Stinger that I want to try and get out. And I'm going to carry this down. What I'm going to do is, so I think to try and get these out, what I'm going to do is just a light polish. It's been about a year and a half since I did a full paint correction on this right after getting it. And now after another year of daily driving and a full winter of driving, it's just it needs a light polish. And I'm pretty sure, I don't know if you can see these kind of watermarks that are in here. Those should come up pretty easy. I'm expecting to be able to pull all that out with just a fine polish. So I'm going to hit that real quick and we'll see what happens. So that did make a difference. That first pass, that made a pretty good difference. I can see all the water spots, that I was seeing. They were pretty subtle, but those are gone. What I'm having trouble with is that right there. There's something on the surface of the paint that's not coming up. So I'm going to try maybe a little bit of stronger cleaner and see if that removes it. There were a couple right here that you may not be able to see. All I can see is what looks like some etching in the paint now. So I'm going to hit it with one more pass, see if that comes up after I try and get whatever this is off the paint. I don't want to dig too much and scratch the paint more in the process. But that light polish did make a big difference. It got rid of quite a bit of the other marks. I was seeing some water marks that were in the paint. So I'm going to shift to focusing on whatever these deposits are on the paint, get those gone, and then finish the polish of the whole hood and fenders. What the hell that stuff was, but it was kind of a pain. So I ended up getting out some bug and tar remover, the strongest stuff I had in my cabinet there, and sprayed the whole hood and let that set dwell for a minute and wiped it down. And that seems to have gotten off all those spots. Did I miss one? I might have missed one. Yep. That stuff, the bug and tar remover, is getting it off. And now that I've sprayed it down with IPA again to get any of that bug and tar remover residue off the paint, just get the paint nice and clean, now I'm ready to continue with polishing. And I can see, I don't know how well it's showing up on camera, but I can see a big difference in this section here. There is absolutely no watermarks, and then as I move down, I'm catching watermarks all along here from over the winter, and even recently you get caught in the rain and it sits all afternoon at work and the water dries and it's leaving watermarks on the paint. So maybe I'm not getting enough wax on it, or maybe the wax didn't last through the winter to protect the paint enough. So I'm going to play with that this year, trying to keep up with more layers of that hybrid ceramic wax, and see if maintaining a better layer of sealant on the paint, if that'll get me through the winter. I might have to top it off a couple of times in the winter. I'm going to get back to this. So I'm going to do a light polish on the whole hood, front fenders, and then we'll shift our attention to the rear quarter panel and get that scratch buffed out. Jumping ahead a little bit here, finish that light polish across the whole hood, both front fenders, basically the front clip. I didn't do the front bumper because that's got a PPF wrap on it, and it just doesn't need it. But this polish made a hell of a difference. Again, I don't know if it's showing up in the camera or not. It's hard to see, but all of those little watermarks are gone all along here across the entire hood. That really helped. And then same with whatever contaminant, whatever was stuck to the paint. That bug remover got that gone, and then I was able to polish out any little marks that were left from it. So the only thing that's left are some deeper scratches from the dealer. Let me see if I can't find one. They're pretty small. Like there's one, if you can catch it in the light, right there. There's about the width of my fingernail, a deeper scratch there. That's about the only thing left in this paint, and I'm not going to bother trying to get out the deeper ones because you've really got to hunt for them. And then, of course, that big scratch, wasn't even really a scratch. It was just a scuff right on the surface in here. That's completely gone now, and it took no effort at all. I thought I might have to get out the cutting pad and cut a little deeper for that, but it didn't need it. It must have just been something from the chair rubbed off on the paint, and a light polish took it off, and it didn't actually I don't think it actually got into the paint at all. So that all looks pretty good. So now all that's left is to dust it off and apply a good coat of that Mcguire's hybrid ceramic wax. That stuff, I've been really pleased with it. The way it beads, the way it lasts. Definitely doesn't last a year, at least not in Ohio winters, but it lasts longer than regular wax does for me. Like the Ultimate Wax from Mcguire's, which is what I used to use. The hybrid ceramic wax lasts quite a bit longer than that. I can go 6 months in the summertime between coats before I really need to do anything about it. And I think in the wintertime I can probably go every 3 months. I tried to go 6 months last winter, and that just didn't last 6 months in the winter, not with the salt and the corrosives there. But so I'm thinking 2 or 3 times in the winter. If I get it like in November, again around January, and then again in March, that should get the car through an Ohio winter. And then once more in the summer, just to top it off and repeat that cycle, and I think I'll be okay. So I'm going to apply a coat of this hybrid ceramic wax from Mcguire's. I love this stuff. So the way I've been doing that, with the car clean and dry, which it is not yet, then I will use, not this one because it's just laying loose, but I've got a stack of new ones. I'll just get a microfiber pad, soak this in some water, and I'll spritz the wax directly on here and just apply it to the entire car in one pass. And then I'll come back with a couple of microfiber towels and buff it out. And if it leaves any streaking, which sometimes that stuff does leave some streaking, then I'll follow up with the detailer here to remove any streaks. And it leaves a really nice finish. That's what I use on the Mazda, and I love it. Love it. Alright, so there it is. Finished. Got the wheels cleaned up finally. And the wax, the hybrid ceramic sealant, is on. And I'm going to call this good. I'm pretty happy with how it's hard to see it without direct sunlight like I have on the rest of the car. But the fenders and the hood, specifically in this area, just look a ton better than they did before. That's all it took, was just a light polish. So I think what I learned after a full winter with this is that the Mcguire stuff is good stuff, but it's not going to hold up to a full winter of road salt, right? So it's going to need reapplied at least once during the winter, and then once during the summer. So at least every 6 months, and I'll probably do it twice in the winter, and then again once in the summertime. And I think that'll keep it going. So as long as I can maintain this for a daily driver, I think that looks pretty good. All right, so to wrap this one up, hopefully you could see the difference in the paint after the polish and the sealant that was applied to it. Again, to me, it made a big difference. I know it may not show up well on the camera just because the paint really wasn't that bad to begin with. It's not like a lot of the other before and afters I've seen on YouTube where you can just see a night and day difference even on camera. My car wasn't that bad to begin with. It was mostly water spots and some contaminants bonded to the paint that needed removed. But again, in person, I think it made a big difference. So if you made it this far, I really appreciate you hanging in there with me. Got some more stuff coming. I am due for a 6-month follow-up review of my supercharged Mazda Miata in the background back there. I finished that up about 6 months ago and have been driving the car quite a bit now that the weather's warmed up. So I'm going to get out and do a follow-up review on my thoughts on how that thing's running. So that should be coming here pretty quick. So if you haven't already hit that subscribe button, I'd really appreciate it if you could click that button for me. That'd really help me out. And until the next one, talk to you later. Thanks.